Good morning. Apologies that I don't speak Lithuanian. You'll have to stick to my English. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here. Thanks a lot for inviting me. And I'd like to spend a couple of minutes to think about this change in scholarly communication landscape. And I'd like to start with this sentence that when the form changes, so does the underlying business model, which of course changes the function as well. And what I mean by the form, there is no way that in contemporary digital environment we can keep publishing journals the way they were published 350 years ago. And when we talk about journals today, we don't only talk about content, but we also talk about enhanced publications where you can not only have access to the text, but also access to supplementary materials, interactive graphs, data sets. You can build in some Google Maps applications. You can have clickable full text publication lists, etc. So it does look different compared to those first academic journals. And this year is quite remarkable for open access developments. If we go chronologically, we can remember that the year started with a huge campaign worldwide when researchers, dozens of thousands of researchers really realized that there are problems with scholarly communication. Not everyone has access. There are big publishing monopolies, and that's not how it should be going. Then Advisory Council of Harvard University made a clear statement that there is no way they can support subscriptions the way they've been supported before. They don't have enough money to buy enough subscriptions, and they gave clear recommendations to faculty members of Harvard University that they should consider publishing in open access journals. And even if Harvard can't afford subscriptions, what can we say about universities in Eastern Europe? This week is an open access week, so happy Open Access Week, and we see lots of positive policy developments. And one of them is a national open access policy which has been introduced in Ireland. And what they require is that peer-reviewed journal articles and other research outputs resulting in whole or in a part from publicly funded research should be deposited in open access repository and made publicly discoverable, accessible, and reusable as soon as possible. Then that repositories should release metadata immediately upon deposit, and maximum embargo period which would be allowed is 12 months for social sciences. And also, this national open access policy of Ireland encourages researchers to publish in open access journals. Another announcement of this week is open access policy of Hungarian Academy of Sciences. They require depositing research results by the members of National Academy of Hungary in open access repository, and it's an addition to open access mandate which has been introduced in 2010 by Hungarian Scientific Research Fund. So we can say that now in Hungary, basically every research outputs will be available in open access. Then another positive development of this week is science policy briefing which was released by European Science Foundation. It's called Open Access in Biomedical Research, and it strongly encourages open access. And there is really a growing movement of open access policies to research outputs. And UK was really a remarkable country in these developments. First, Wellcome Trust, which is one of the largest research funds that fund biomedical research worldwide, and which was the first research fund that introduced an open access policy a number of years ago. This year they said that it's not enough to be able to read for free. It's really important to have some reuse rights attached to that. And they strengthened their policy, and they said that if their grantees want to publish in open access journals, they should make sure that articles they publish are licensed with open content licenses and allow reuse, not only free access. Then also Research Council UK introduced an open access policy, so it's not only requiring depositing full text in repositories, but also strongly encourages open access publishing initiatives, and also making a point that it's important to have those reuse rights for articles. And then Science Minister of the UK, Mr. David Willetts, which also announced that UK government earmarks open access publishing, and they allocate £10 million for these developments in the UK. And then another example of open access policy with reuse rights, announcements from the World Bank that all publications of the World Bank will be available in the World Bank Open Access Repository Open Knowledge, and also they should be licensed with Creative Commons Attribution license, the most liberal license. If this is a publication of World Bank employees in some other publishing houses or publishing venues not associated with the World Bank, then there is a requirement that publication should be openly available in the repository 6 months after publication, and the license should be Creative Commons Attribution, I think non-commercial, no derivatives, so not so liberal as for publications that were produced by the World Bank, but still there is a point that open content licenses are important components of those open access policies. And then earlier this year there were public hearings in the it's called Committee on Science, Space and Technology, the US House of Representatives, and there was quite a good statement quoting MIT experience that open access doesn't only provide increased public access, but it also helps to encourage commercialization of research outputs. And as it was proven by Human Genome Project, open availability of research outputs fostered innovations in this area, and that's all resulted in more revenues received, like 30% more gains in follow-on research and commercialization. In Europe, it's pretty clear that open access to research is a must for competitiveness of Europe. And this policy document of the European Commission has already been mentioned here. Recommendations on access to and preservation of scientific information, and it does help to reduce duplication of efforts. It does minimize time you need to spend to search for research results and access those research results. It does encourage cooperation within European Union and beyond European Union, and open access should be a key feature in member states' policies on research and innovation, because businesses benefit from wider access to scientific research results, especially small and medium science, and also there are some societal benefits. And this year, open access to research data is also a hot topic. And in those European Commission recommendations to member states, there is quite a large section on open access to scientific research data, because that also helps to enhance data quality, to reduce duplications of research, to speed up scientific progress, and helps to combat scientific fraud. So there is also a requirement to member states from the European Commission. They should look into open data policies. And Gintarė already mentioned Open Air project, which started as a project to help researchers to comply with open access policy pilot of European Commission. And now we have almost 1/3 of publications, all publications resulting from FP7 projects covered by this open access policy in open access, and more publications will come later. And Lithuania was recently a feature story in like market news of the European Commission, and it was interesting to see that a lot of publications that resulted from FP7 funded projects in Lithuania are already available in open access. And after Lithuania, Latvia was also featured, and in Latvian case it was even that 90% of publications resulting from Latvian projects were already available in open access. And Gintarė also mentioned Open Air Plus project. Open Air was only about some fraction of publications from FP7 projects. Open Air Plus will be much wider. What we want to do, we want to link funding information with publications, with data, with multimedia, and not only on the level of European Commission, not only that will cover research outputs produced by the European Commission, but also we want to include as many nationally funded projects as possible and build something like a portal of enhanced open access publications that are results of research processes in the European Union, be that funded by European Commission or national funders. And what we see are the benefits for researchers, for example, in that Open Air Plus project. They could boost visibility of research outputs, because when you make your research outputs accessible to all, it does help to increase visibility, linking publications with underlying research data, getting usage statistics, because I think that's important. And we can picture some researchers that might be looking for certain information, like in their specific genes or some other specific topics. And Open Air Portal is a place where they can go and look for all open access publications in their areas. They can also see links from publications to data sets, and they also can see the usage of their publications, if their publications are deposited. And of course they can deposit, if they don't have institutional repositories for publications or data in their institutions, they could deposit in open air facilities. We also believe that Open Air will be useful, Open Air Portal will be useful for research administrators, because they can see performing indicators, they can see how institution or country is performing compared to other institutions or countries. They can get all usage information, how their funded publications are really used and reused. And they can also use information from the Open Air Portal for their reporting processes. And it's of course useful for project coordinators, because they can take data from Open Air Portal using APIs, and they can create always updated publication lists on their project pages. And these are two examples. And this year is also remarkable because we celebrate 10 years from Budapest Open Access Initiative, the initiative that really coined the term open access. And recommendations were released in September. So there was a meeting earlier this year where original signatories to Budapest Open Access Initiative gathered together and talked what would be the future for scholarly communication in the coming 10 years. And these are particular recommendations about policy, that every institution of higher education should have a policy assuring that peer-reviewed versions of all scholarly articles by faculty members are deposited in institutions' designated repository, and depositing should be made as early as possible, ideally at the time of acceptance and no later than the date of formal publication. And of course, those policies should respect faculty's freedom to publish in the journals of their choice, be that closed access or open access. But of course, open access publications in open access journals should be encouraged, but of course not required. But depositing in repositories could be required. Then, when such policies are introduced in institutions, it's good when they are introduced by faculty vote. So it's not like a decree from director, it's really a general desire of faculty members. And also same recommendations relate to theses and dissertations, because it's important not only to have access to articles, conference proceedings, but also to theses and dissertations. And same goes for funding agencies, that every research funding agency, be it private or public, should have a policy assuring that peer-reviewed versions of articles are available in the repository under the same condition as in universities. And it's also recommendable if publishers object to open access policies of a funder, then grantee would be advised to look for another publisher. And that's what already Wellcome Trust said in the UK, that's what already Research Council UK said about that publishers should either agree or they might lose their business. And also funders should treat publication costs as part of research costs. And funders could also require some open content licenses, preferably Creative Commons attribution. There was also a recommendation that discourage the use of journal impact factors as surrogates for quality of journals, articles, and authors, because really journal impact factor doesn't tell anything about the quality of individual article or the quality of individual author. And development of alternative metrics for impact and quality, which are less simplistic and more transparent, were encouraged. And in case universities need to measure contribution of faculty members, they should really look into article level metrics and not journal level metrics. And for those institutions that would like to come up with their open access policies, there is really very good policy document, good practices for university open access policies by Harvard Open Access Project. I like the story of Dr. Bertalan Mesker, who is a young researcher in Hungary, and he was finishing his PhD, and for him it was really important to get feedback from his colleagues. He was really interested to get information whether he is on the right track. He wanted to find some new colleagues, so he wanted feedback, new colleagues, and new partnership, new research projects. And when he was thinking where should he publish his research article resulting from his PhD work, he decided that open access would be the way to go. And the results for him were really impressive because his article really became, so he published it, he tweeted about it, he posted a link to this article in his blog, and this article became highly accessed. He really received lots of emails and Twitter comments from relevant comments from his colleagues, and he was invited to collaborate in a couple of research projects. So that was his goal, and open access helped him to achieve it. And when Michael Faraday was giving advice to his disciples, students, he was saying to them, work, finish, publish. Nowadays, it's not enough to work, finish, publish. It's important to add this fourth word, release, because in digital environment, that's an important thing you should do. And I think it's really a good moment, and perhaps for our roundtable discussion, to try to think what would scholarly communications look like if we invented it today, because it's not a given modality, it's our scholarly communication. And there are already some promising results from article level metrics from PLOS. There is a new project, Impact Story, where you can get indicators of usage of your article and build them into your literature list, and this is an information that publishers could get and upload to their publishing web pages to help to tell impact stories of certain articles. And there are also promising developments how openly licensed open access materials could be used as teaching and learning materials in colleges. There is a growing movement of data publications, and Pensoft, a publisher from Bulgaria, is one of the publishers that already started publishing data, not even analyzed data. And this data paper is like a new notion that appeared this year. And this is an example of Journal of Open Archaeology data. And also a remarkable example that a community of high energy physics decided that from this year all publications that are related to high energy physics will be available in open access, should be published in open access journals, and CERN is leading this Scope 3 initiative. Some years back, they did a global survey of all researchers worldwide, and they gathered responses from almost 40,000 researchers. That was like a full stadium. And we extracted some results for EIFL partner countries, and about 86% of researchers were convinced that open access publishing is beneficial both for their scientific community, but also brings public good benefit. At that time, already 63% of researchers published open access articles, and when they decide where to publish, they look at 5 factors: prestige of the journal, impact factor, speed of publication, importance for career, and relevance of the journal for the community. Then also a large majority believed that publicly funded research should be made publicly available without the barriers to use, and that's because open access articles are more likely to be read and cited more. And open access publishing for scholarly communication system is much more cost effective than closed access publishing. And it's also important that in open access publishing, researchers retain their rights. They don't transfer their rights to publishers. And open access does help in wider distribution and wider usage. And there are some examples of citation advantages. I don't know whether that's another presentation of this slide, that in different disciplines there is a different percentage increase in citations, but we can see that basically in all the areas open access helps to increase citations. And what could researchers do if they want to practice open access? And these are my final slides. They can submit articles to open access journal if there are appropriate open access journals in their field. They can deposit their peer-reviewed manuscripts in open access repositories, and they also can deposit data files in repositories. When researchers are asked to referee a paper or become an editor of the journal or member of editorial board, if it's an open access journal, recommendation is to accept the invitation and help to increase the quality of open access journals. And if you're publishing a closed access journal, then perhaps that's a time to rethink that and try to look into open access model. And also researchers should try to adjust criteria for tenure and promotion in universities to include open access contribution. And of course, promote open access to colleagues and young researchers. And I'm really happy with Lithuanian achievements with open access publishing project last year, with open access promotion project last year, and with this project with young researchers. And I thank you all for all your hard work, and I congratulate you with all your remarkable achievements. Some references to policy recommendations, and thank you for your attention. Questions? But I don't know whether we have time for questions.